guys, welcome back to Abundance of Lovely. Abundance is filled to overflowing and lovely is what we are filled with, and that is love. Today I'm going to be taking you on a different behind the scenes. We're going to be doing a look back and a look forward. The looking back will be looking at last year's data and statistics, so some of the insights that I can get on the views and the posts from 2025. And then looking forward, we're going to be doing some preparation for what types of blogs that I want to look at in 2026. So I'll go to some of my old journals and diaries and look at some of the themes that I've wrestled with before that might spark some new inspiration for posts. And I will also fill out some of my topic brainstorms because this just helps me when I do want to write those posts. I've already done some of the thinking behind those posts. So today's a little bit of a logistics post, taking you behind the scenes on the mechanics of the blog, the data, but also the preparation and behind the scenes. So I hope you enjoy this different format in the life of someone who is just trying to do blogging and vlogging while also working full time. So I hope you enjoy. Been doing is going through old journals. This one is 2019, 2020, and this one is 2016, and I am just finding themes. These are themes I've already obviously contemplated in the past and been wrestling with, and they are forming ideas for future blog posts. So this is just a new process that I am going to try and implement in the future. I haven't done this before, but I am realizing that I do have 30 years of life and many years of concepts I've already walked through and lived and breathed. And so I want to also honor those seasons and go back to those seasons and not just write from the place of where I am right now, but from the past and from the places where I have been and the discoveries that I've made then. I want to bring them into the future and into the now and apply some new learnings and new discoveries onto those. Friends, I am finally going to show you the data from 2025 on the blog. So this data, I will set the date range from the 1st of the 1st in 2025 to the 31st of the 12th, 2025. So just 1 year, an annual review of views and other data that I can get on the statistics that WordPress has built in. I don't pay for any additional statistics, so it's just the base data that we can get. So I have been doing this blog now for 12 years. I have a lot of data, and it's always encouraging to see that people are reading what I am putting out. It's my heart to your hearts, even if it's just one heart on the other side of the screen, that still means the whole world to me. And so of course I love looking at the data, and over the 12 years it has evolved quite a lot. The first data you will see is the views, and this comes up as a bar graph showing us each month and a rough indication of the views across each month. You can see that there was a bit of a roller coaster, some blips in there. Particularly of note is how high the views got in November. That is very interesting for me because that does coincide with when I started doing YouTube, and so it just shows that doing the vlogs of behind the scenes on the blogs is a great medium and a great tool for driving traffic to my website. I have the data to prove that now, and so it's an encouragement for me to continue trying out YouTube and seeing if it will direct people to my writing. You can see that holistically across all of those months there was 3.1k views, which is a lot. As I always say, if I imagine all those people in the room with me right now, that is a lot of people, and so I'm really, really grateful for all of those people that did view the website. As you can see, it's a 10% increase from the views that I did get in the previous year, which is a good sign. The visitors toggle, I've explained this on my history of the blog vlog. Basically, the visitors are counted as a first time visiting the site, and I really take the visitor data with a grain of salt. I'm not really sure if that does tell me accurately that 2.4k of those 3.1k were people that have never visited the site before. I mean, it might be accurate. It might be true that people have stumbled across the site for whatever reason through Google searches. And so if that's the case, that's incredible then, that there has been that many visitors out of nowhere who just have organically found my website. The other data you'll see underneath there is the likes and the comments. I personally don't really track these at all. They are just in the WordPress website itself, and so it's whether people have liked or commented on the post. In order to do that, they need to have their own WordPress account. So I don't really care about that data as much. I mean, it would be lovely to see comments there. Interestingly enough, although it doesn't show on there, I actually get hundreds of emails a day for comments. All of them are spam. So I have a lot of comments that I have to filter through every single day, but none of them are real comments. So if anyone wants to leave a real comment, thank you so much. There are, of course, other mediums in which people could leave comments. They could put it on Facebook, they could put it on YouTube now. I also end up getting a lot of feedback through direct messages. People just reach out to me directly and will say whether or not that post resonated with them. And so that's really meaningful. That just shows that they cared enough to reach out. And so I love that a lot. What other data can we see here? We can actually toggle and see the same data with a different view. We can also change the increments. So I was on months, and let's try weeks out of curiosity if it tells us something new. Ooh, yes, it does. Now, we saw on the bar that November was the highest views for the entire year. What this particular view, though, shows us is that it wasn't November. It was the end of October, start of November, when I saw a huge peak. This is great to know because it does directly coincide with when I did post. And so that is incredible. That is directly linked to when I started YouTube. So amazing. It's kind of the same as I mentioned on the history of the blog with when I started the blog. Whenever you start something new for the first time, people are curious and they will click through just to see what you're up to. And so I had people clicking onto the blog when it first started in 2014, and that was my highest viewed year of all time. And now here I see that I had the highest viewed month because people were coming because of my YouTube channel. So that's really cool to see that level of data and insights. The next piece of data I will show you is the most viewed posts and pages. Again, I said in my history of the blog video that I don't really care about the pages. The pages are just placeholders and they just help you navigate the site. And so it makes sense that sometimes when people are navigating the site that the pages might get high views. I care way more about the views on the posts. What that tells me is what types of topics and themes and styles of posts that people love the most. This is obviously just 2025, but what is interesting with this particular data is that the top viewed post of 2025 is my top viewed post of all time, To Manifest His Glory. I do have theories as to why this is my top viewed post, as I shared on my history of the blog, so go and check that out if you're interested. But I did see a huge increase in views this year for that as well, 354, that's a lot. It just shows that that particular blog is, in a sense, timeless. I wrote that in 2018 and it's now 8 years later. So it's really encouraging that that's still holding up. And that is something that I will say about my style of writing and my blogging is that I want it to be timeless. I want people to be able to pick up any of these posts at any point in time, and depending on the season that they're in, for it to resonate and speak to them. Sometimes I might mention or reference any inspiration that was a current affair at a time, but I don't want to withhold or restrict my writing to the here and now. It is far more fulfilling for me as a writer to write things that have eternal weight and value, that are about the heart. So it's really cool to see there. A lot of these posts aren't posts that I posted in 2025. So the top 5, To Manifest His Glory, Dare to Forgive, Temple of the Mother, Purpose of a Pen, Impulsive Love, all of those were posts from previous years, and those are posts that are in my top few posts of all time. So it is really cool to see those there. But what I do like to see is that there were posts that I did write this year, which means that there were some that people liked and were viewing more than others. So Performative Spirituality, Storytellers of Grace, and Covenant over Constitution, those are ones that I did write this year. And so it's great to see them up there with some of those other ones. It's always interesting to see year on year what people are drawn to. And it does help me in a way look at these and see themes, see what types of topics people are enjoying. The other piece of data that you can see there is the referrers. And this is basically just if people have clicked through to the site from another link, those are the links. The search engines has always been a top link for me. It's Google, so I imagine that people might be using keywords and finding my site through there. Facebook makes sense because I do a lot of sharing of the posts on Facebook, and Instagram is the same. Those are the main mediums that I am using to promote the site, so it makes sense. Hopefully we will see YouTube increase in 2026 because I have now started doing that more frequently. Let's see what else I can show you. The location map. I really enjoyed showing you guys the location map on my history on the blog because it just shows that I have viewers from all over the world. This in particular is just 2025, and so you can see it's just a small subset of the world. But what I am very curious and interested in is that my top country in 2025 wasn't my own country. So I have a huge base of supporters in the United States, which is incredible given that I am not from the United States, but there must be people over there who have discovered my blog and are enjoying looking at my posts. So thank you guys so much. Shout out if you are from America. Of course, we do have Australia, my home, second. It makes a lot of sense. A lot of people that I follow and have in my life who I am linking this to are from Australia. And then you can see the others there. I always do have viewers from India because I have written a few blogs about India, and so they often are prominent in this list. Now, the other piece of data I can show you is this summary. It's 2025 in review. We're just going to focus on the top banner there. The all-time highlights is, as it sounds, all-time, so it's not specific to 2025. The annual insights you can see here is that I did 14 posts. I am really proud of myself for being able to do 14 posts this year because I only did 2 in 2024. So I had a huge increase, got my rhythm back, I got momentum, and that's just really cool to see it reflected in the outputs here on the site. The amount of words is pretty high, I will say. I'll have to look at some of the past year data, but I do believe that's quite a high figure. What other stats can we give you? The all-time annual insights. So this is where we can compare year on year. I enjoy this one as well because I can do a bit of benchmarking for myself over the years. So it has been 12 years now on the blog, which is incredible. What is standing out to me is that for the last 3 years, I haven't exceeded 10 posts per year. So the fact that I have exceeded 10 posts in 2025 is incredible. I'm really proud of myself for that. So hopefully I can just keep that momentum going into 2026. The total words is interesting, and it is, as I suspected, higher than I have ever had before. 47,000 words is a lot. The average words per post is something that I spoke about on the history of the blog, and it's something that I have received feedback on. And so I am aware of it. It is something that I am going to look at approaching differently in 2026. Potentially I will break up some of the posts into series, or I will just try to be a bit more concise, or perhaps just only explore one question instead of several questions. I will definitely try and think about creative ways that I can reduce them again. Okay, so I'm going to take you now through the 2025 blogs that I wrote. I had 14 of them, so let's go back to the start. To start it off, we had in January 25, the Generation of People Pleasers post. This one I wrote based on the school systems that we are brought up in and how they shape and affect our personalities and our natures. And this one particularly looks at how people-pleasing is a result of the school systems and how they reward certain behaviours. So that was the start of the year, and that was just something that I had been personally reflecting on. It had come up as a prompt from the book that I was reading at the time, where she reflected on how her school system had impacted her moral compass. And so I was inspired to reflect on my own school system and put that there. The February post, so I had a few in February. February 9, I had the call to stillness. The call to stillness was my phrase for 2025. It was interchangeable with the call to solitude and the call to silence. So you can go and read the blog to understand why that was my word for the year. The second one I did in February was performative spirituality. As you saw, that was one of my most popular blogs from this year. So that one was again inspired from a book I was reading about the subtle power of spiritual abuse, and I explored the spiritual systems that are at play in the church today. And so that's in that post. Redeeming Love was my March post, and that was inspired by the Redeeming Love movie. I love the book by Francine Rivers. It's one of my favorites, and the movie was just so beautifully done. I sobbed, and so it just emotionally moved me so much that I had to write about it. It's very emotional reflection and just raw recounting of how my heart was impacted and moved by that movie. Then we had a few months where I wasn't posting, and we come to May. Stewards of Life was inspired by a walk that I had done around the neighbourhood here locally, where we have a lot of bushland, and I was just inspired to reflect on stewardship and what that looks like in regards to our life. I also did another one in May, so that was a Mirage of Hope. A Mirage of Hope kind of gets bundled together with the other church-based blogs that I've done in recent years. A Mirage of Hope is a reflection on the church that we were attending earlier in 2025, which really was just an illusion of community and an illusion of solid teaching. And so that is why it's all about a mirage in that post. And you can read that to find out a little bit more of where my heart was at then. In June, I had my Storytellers of Grace post, which was really a poetic post. I looked at the difference between shame and grace as the narratives that we're believing and following in our lives. There was then a big gap, so we went from June to October. Several months there of complete silence from me. Often when there are seasons of silence, it's usually either stress or sickness. In this instance, it was sickness that was stress-induced. I was plagued by horrible migraines that were very debilitating. I had a bunch of neurosensitivities, which meant I couldn't really sit at screens. I had to put really intense red light filters on all of my screens. I got vertigo, I got all of these strange symptoms. So basically it just meant I was wiped out, which is why we only see me come back in October. And I came back with quite a long one. It was an essay, and it was also the first time that I have ever spoken about politics on Abundance of Lovely. It was about politics and faith and just how politics and faith can shape us and change us. The Choreography of Death, which I published on the 1st of November, was my first ever behind the scenes on the blog YouTube video. So I started that off at the start of November. This one was inspired by a TV series that we had watched, but it really just evolved into this reflection on death as a whole. You can go and watch my YouTube video if you're curious about more of the behind the scenes on that one. The same probably goes for all of these coming ones. There are YouTube videos where I actually speak about these in detail. I'll just give you a summary quickly. Sleepless Lamentations was my recalling of how that period of silence and sickness was quite debilitating. There were a lot of sleepless nights, and they were nights of absolute lamentation. And so that's what that post is all about. I then have another church-based post, which was Church Hurt, Listen, Love and Pray. And that one was looking at the healing from church hurt. So there was a theme this year of looking at the church and church hurt and all of those concepts. I think I have about 3 this year that were church-based. And I've just noticed that I did actually post 3 in November, which is incredible given that I had been debilitated. That does coincide with when I started medication for the migraines. So I think that's why I was able to produce 3 a month in both November, and you can see in December as well, I was able to do that. So that's really encouraging. The call to love was reflecting on marriage and just this call on our lives, on our hearts to love. And I also have another call, so the call to remembrance. Again, that's another 3. I have the call to stillness, call to love, and call to remembrance. So I I seemed to have a lot of themes or like series without officially intending for them to be series that I did this year, which is really cool. And the last one that I was able to post was the juxtaposition of joy. I posted that after Christmas. That was inspired by the events leading up to Christmas here in Australia, where there was some hostile shootings. So you can see that I am responding in some of these posts to things I'm watching or reading or current events. But what I end up doing on the blog is kind of looking at the philosophical conversations around those particular events or topics. And so I hope that does mean that they're going to still be relevant in coming years. But that is the 14 posts that I did in 2020. Given the fact that I only did 2 posts in the year prior, I am really proud of myself for what I was able to produce for you guys. And so I hope that you have enjoyed this overview.